Some say that it is like Pitt's moving castle, immersing you unconsciously. Others liken it to Cinderella's pumpkin carriage, capable of breaking her chains of fate. What kind of adventures would happen if movies really merged into reality? In the Arctic conditions of -40 degrees, a pickup camper turned into a tin snail, ultimately staying put due to the heavy snowstorm. Ever since watching the aurora borealis in Alaska, Pitt has been driving towards the Arctic Ocean. Now, in the winter of the northern hemisphere, the roads are covered with perennial snow, making his journey extremely difficult. Moreover, the 300 kilometers of uninhabited area amplify the sense of loneliness. Therefore, whenever he passes through a town with shops, he stops to stock up on food supplies. However, the prices in this frigid land are very high. Watching as his savings plunge like a high diver, but determined to fulfill his dream of a global journey, he presses forward as always. As time passes, the blizzard begins to show signs of fury. The cabin also sways continuously like a cradle, causing Pitt some concern at the moment. In order to enjoy a cup of hot coffee to soothe his fragile soul, he uses boiling water to melt the ice on the coffee cup. After all, in 40 below zero conditions, having an iced Americano equates to a form of performance art. Then, he, bare-chested, steps into the snowy field to check the condition of the vehicle. The piercing cold wind mixed with snowflakes assaults Pitt's face, and the surrounding boundless white fog makes it seem like he is on a desolate, lonely planet. Thanks to the camper's good insulation and the continuously burning fireplace, it stays warm inside. Thus, even with the extreme cold of -40 degrees outside, it feels like spring inside the cabin. This allows Pitt to freely enjoy the joys of freedom indoors. Time unconsciously passes by, and as he gets closer to the Arctic, the daylight hours gradually decrease. Taking advantage of the lingering twilight, Pitt plans to make dinner. Although it is still a blizzard outside, he considers the steak that will soon be grilled. To avoid filling the cabin with smoke from the cooking oil, he decides to cook outside in the snowy outdoors. The sizzling sound of fat dripping onto charcoal adds a touch of warmth to the wild weather. A medium-rare steak cooked to perfection, each bite quietly savored. After dinner, lying on the comfortable sofa and fur blanket, enjoying delicious ice cream and fried eggs, that's pretty much it. This is the most delightful moment of the day. After a satisfying meal, Pete stepped out of the RV, only to find the skies had grown dark. He was putting away the now cool grill back into the van, when suddenly, the blizzard outside intensified. Pete could only quickly duck back inside, where the small pendant lamp on the ceiling swayed back and forth from the wind. Such scenes were nothing new to Pete. He nonchalantly began making a dessert post-dinner, unfazed by the wild storm outside. Due to the outside temperature difference, the snowflakes that hit the RV melted, and then immediately froze into ice. But inside the warm cabin, bolstered by the fireplace, the temperature could reach over 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Then, Pete took the cookies out of the oven and relished the tempting treats contentedly. After this memorable night, it was uncertain whether the vehicle could be started the next morning. Meanwhile, nearby vehicles were trapped and required local emergency rescue. Only a seasoned driver like Pete with ample experience would travel and live in such places. Otherwise, it would be extremely dangerous. Due to the severe cold, the fireplace had to be frequently restocked with firewood during the night. Therefore, Pete didn't sleep very well. With the blizzard still raging outside, he then put on a cumbersome thick coat before opening the door to step out. Who knew that the outside had already been heavily covered in snow, making even opening the door very strenuous. What then came into view was a vast expanse of white snow, making every step forward incredibly difficult. And on the front of the vehicle, a thick layer of ice had formed. Pete quickly conducted a startup check, and fortunately, the blizzard overnight had not incapacitated the RV. He planned to let the engine run for a while. While the engine warmed up, it was a good time to clear the snow off the vehicle. After clearing, Pete removed the speed fork, immediately turned around, and adjusted the travel route, ready to start the next stretch of road. Unexpectedly, due to the thick layer of snow on the road, even the powerful four-wheel drive pickup was deeply mired. Luckily, Pete had a shovel carried in the vehicle. Just when Pete hadn't had the chance to enjoy a hot cup of coffee, he encountered this sudden dilemma. This would become a new chapter in the travel journal. Years later, whenever chatting with little Bebe, this will surely be another interesting and extraordinary experience to recount. 6 cycles of revving the engine and shoveling snow, the tires spun in vain, forming spirals of despair. If he had known he would face such a situation now, perhaps he should have left earlier yesterday. Gritting his teeth, he called in a snowplow, his overdrawn credit card still trembling. Although a freedom to drive isn't cheap, it's still much better than continuing to be stuck here. Then, with the trembling of the dashboard needles like a quickening pulse, he successfully embarked on his journey, continuing to measure the loneliness at latitude 66 degrees north.